Y'all, so this is going to be a sensitive video, and so I want to put a trigger warning out there right at the start. In this video, I will be talking about SA, and so I want you to take care of your heart if that is something that would be upsetting to you. I'm speaking about specifically what I've noticed in a few situations over my last couple years of being a hospice chaplain, which is where female caregivers are taking care of their abuser. So their parent who either physically, emotionally, or SA'd them. And now they are on hospice, and that child, who's now an adult, is taking care of their parent. So if this is going to trigger you, please take care of your heart. And I am committed to talking about the things that maybe you don't see in other hospice videos, which is the reality of what is sitting in front of you at any given moment and how we help those people process and move through where they're at in life and their pain, right? That's what we do as chaplains. So I actually took notes because this is serious and I don't want to misspeak. So if you see me looking over, it's truly because I'm looking at my notes and I want to handle this with care. So the first thing I want to mention is the fact that I am not a mental health professional. I'm a spiritual care provider. I'm a spiritual care clinician. So I am not looking to talk about trauma per se and how we treat trauma, because that is outside of my scope. So I am going to try to be careful, even though I always say with mental health and spiritual health, there is kind of this overlap that you see, but I think we have to be very careful and making sure that we don't overstep and we know when to refer, when we know to tag in the social worker and hospice per se, to tag in the social worker to support this patient further. Because I am not a fan of really long videos, I may break this up into several parts. So the first thing I think I need to mention as a professional chaplain, and this is what separates us from someone who has been a pastor and is now stepping into the chaplaincy world, who doesn't have clinical training, is that each of us should be providing care through a theoretical orientation. We work in a hospital system, a hospice system, a healthcare system that is very outcome oriented. And so us putting down empathetic presence, compassionate presence, those sorts of things, that is not quantifiable. It's surely not outcome based. And whether we like it or not, that is where the industry is going. And I know I work with chaplains who are pastors. They're bivocational. And I sit in the tension with them of what it looks like to offer pastoral care and how does that integrate with a clinical perspective. So I just want to lay my cards out on the table and tell you that I am an advocate of clinical outcomes because I believe it leads to the sustainability of our career. That doesn't mean that I poo-poo on pastoral skills, but I always say pastors will always have a place in the church. A clinical chaplain may not. Okay? So when I talk about theoretical orientations, my work is primarily grounded in ACT, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. It's by Steve Hayes. It is his work and his framework. And so when I start to talk about my role with that woman who is now taking care of her abuser, the first thing that I like to do is just name that tension. I think about how often and how quickly this information comes up. So I probably never shared this before, but my daughter is a therapist. And one of the things she talks about is the therapeutic alliance a lot. And also in my classwork. So I understand what that is. And one of the differences I think, though, between us and a therapist us being chaplains and a therapist, is how quickly people will get to what's really bothering them. My daughter says she can be in sessions with people 3 or 4 times before they actually trust her enough to come with what's really on their heart. It is something about spiritual care and chaplaincy that people get honest with you real fast. So the reason I'm making this video is because you could walk into a situation and you are doing a life review, and then all of a sudden you hear this bomb dropped on you about my mom was this, my dad did this, and those sorts of things. So I want you to ground yourself and be prepared, because this doesn't often take very long for this to come to the surface. So one of the things I do, number one, is I name the tension there, right? One of the things that we do really well as clinicians is someone's telling you their story, and you look and say, what's the emotion behind the words? Our job is to name the emotion behind the words. Okay. So I will say, wow, after you thank them for sharing and, all of that, I will name whatever I feel, and I will give permission for them to feel that way. So I will say, wow, this is very complex and very disconcerting. I can only imagine the pain that you feel or the anger that you feel, because a lot of times it's anger that you feel, the animosity that you feel, the discontentment, whatever it is that you feel from that story, name it, and then give them permission to own how they're feeling. Once you give them the opportunity to name and to accept, meaning make room for their true feeling about it, because here's the truth, you may be the first person that they feel comfortable telling that they resent having to take care of their parent. I've had people say that to me because everybody in their family is just applauding them or encouraging them and telling them how great they are to be showing up for their abusive parent in this way. Or maybe people don't know that the abuse happened, and all of their showering them with all this love that they think is support, like the family thinks is support or friends think is support, because they don't really know the dynamic between that parent and that child. You may be the first person to actually give them permission to accept the fact that they're pissed off about this, or they resent doing this without feeling judged. So it's incredibly important that you create space for the acceptance of their feelings. And that's where, when we talk about ACT, a lot of times people think acceptance means that you're accepting what happened to you, or you're accepting where you are, and you're giving up, there's nothing else to do. You've resolved that issue. No, acceptance literally means just creating space to accept how you really feel. So that's part one of what you need to do and get really good at. And so to end this video, because I said I'm going to do multiple videos, so you'll see me in the same outfit, y'all, because I'm going to go record it all at the same time, but I'm just going to break it up. Is number one, what I want you to do is ground yourself. Think about your theoretical orientation and how you would approach someone disclosing this with you. Because the intervention of silence is always available to us. But in these situations, I think you need additional interventions. The intervention of prayer is always there as well. Whatever you ground yourself in is always there. But these types of situations, I think, require a lot more savvy. And I say this humbly and truthfully. This is what separates a chaplain who operates as a clinician from a rookie. You want to get really good at this. So I'm curious if you're a chaplain and you follow this page, Or if you're a CPE student and you're starting to look at theories that okay, I don't know what happened to the end of my video, so I'm back, new outfit. But my question was, what theoretical orientation do you ground your care practice in? And if you're a CPE student, as you're learning about different theories, which ones seem to be aligning with your values and how you want to show up and offer care? Here's the thing I will say, that may change over time, especially if you're a student, as you get exposed to more theories, but what's resonating with you right now? If you're new around here, my name is Leslie. I'm creating the videos that I wish existed when I first started my journey to becoming a chaplain. Like, follow, subscribe. For those of you who like and comment all the time, I love you. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, because that is currency. That's how we get these videos out into the world for other people to learn from. So I just want to let you know that I'm appreciative of you doing that. And for those of you who just follow me and lurk, I need you to go ahead and subscribe, comment, join the community. Let's have a conversation. And until next time, my loves, grace and peace.